Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Test and Tune. Right here I have my, what used to be the trusty and faithful Philips 40-inch computer monitor. Now I actually got this back in 2015. I'll flash up the model and the exact model code on the screen right now. But it's been pretty good until about 2 weeks ago. I noticed the screen was just getting darker in places, and I know what's happening. The LED backlight is failing. I'm going to put it on now and show you, but it's sort of intermittent. Sometimes one band will be out, and sometimes 3 bands will be out, and you can hardly see anything on the screen. So let me turn it on and show you what we're working with here. So this should power up, in theory. There we go. So you can see we've got this dark patch down the bottom, but the rest is sort of okay at the moment. It's really weird how it works. But yeah, sometimes it'll only have a light strip just along the top. Right. But we can fix it. Now I found a DIY on Imgur of all the places, but I thought I'd do a video on it just so that people have a better idea of the process. I will put a link to the LED backlight strips in the listing description down below. I got these from AliExpress. They're about 25 Australian dollars delivered at this point in time. It looks like you don't need to solder anything. They're held on with just simple pin connectors. There's 4 strips here. Let's get this monitor teared down and see if we can get the whole backlight working, because I really don't want to throw it away. It was quite an expensive monitor, and when it's working, it does its job nicely. Right. I guess I need to work out how to get it taken apart. Let me power it off, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to pull the power. That should drain all the capacitors out of it. We'll flip it over, and I'll show you guys how we're undoing the screws. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is remove the base of the stand, and then remove all of the screws from the outside of the back casing, and then there are a couple of screws on the inside. Anyway, I'll get all the screws undone that I'm going to undo, and I'll do it via time lapse. Okay, so I'm going to try and change the angle so hopefully you can see, but we've taken out all the screws from around the edge. There are 2 screws on the middle of the back panel, there and there, and then there's 2 screws just behind the Philips logo down here. Now, this should now lift off. However, it is going to be connected to this control switch and this power switch here. So we need to do it carefully and not damage anything. Oh, and I've missed a screw over here. There's always one. 3 screws in the middle. Don't know how I missed it. Alright, let's try again. Hey, that's come up. Oh, okay, so a speaker has fallen off. And we can disconnect the control button. And you guys probably aren't seeing it. Sorry. And then the power switch. We should be able to pull those off as well. No, okay. Power switch is held on with 2 Philips heads, which I'll show you guys in a second, but I should be able to have access to them now. Da-da-da. Oh, shit. Just dropped a Philips head. Drop 2 Philips heads, but that should now let us pull that power switch out. There we go. Okay, and that should, let's take the back cover off. Yes! Okay, just so you know, the control joystick is just one of those sort of push and release connectors there. Got a little tab on it. That came out easy, and then that was just held in with 2 screws on the tab. So that can all go back in nice and easy. The speakers had just fallen from wherever they were locked into. Ah, okay. Speakers were there. So it must have grabbed as I pulled the cover up. That's fine. Right, on to the next step. Okay, the next step is to remove the plate that the VESA mounts onto, which is this plate here. What I'm going to do is remove this wiring tape first. Now, just keep in mind, guys, I am not an electrical engineer. You should probably be doing this with something that removes all the static from your body so you can't short anything or damage anything. But hey, at least you'll be able to watch this, and if it works, I'll put the video on YouTube and you'll know how to do it. If it doesn't, I'll probably still put the video on YouTube so you know how not to do it. So that's that. Now that should lift off. Sweet. So that's that bracket. Try and keep those screws with that one. Something I haven't done, which I should have done, is probably organise the screws better. I know where each of them are and where they go on the screen, but if you're going to do this, make sure you allocate a safe spot for the screws as you remove them. So with that mount out of the way, we can then disconnect this ribbon cable. It's not really a ribbon cable, but it's a cable that goes to the LED Phillips light at the bottom. So that comes up, and then it's a matter of undoing these 27 screws that go around the front bezel. So I'm going to switch over to time lapse and get those 27 unscrewed. Okay, so I've removed the 27 screws from around the outside, and now I need to undo all of these little pieces of metal tape. It might be a bit of a two-handed job, actually. See how we go. With a razor blade to get under it. Oh, gosh, it's awfully tight. Okay, so I'm going to go and undo all of that pieces of tape. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so with the tape all undone, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put the bottom of the screen facing away from me. Now, just be super careful when you are turning it over because we've removed part of the framework. You don't want to stretch or bend anything more than it needs to be bent. Yes, I've never cleaned my screen. Well, not in a long time. I know it's filthy. I also didn't put anything down to protect this, which I probably should have, so keep that in mind. Right, so you can see the bezels actually come away there, but we should now be able to pull the bezel up off the screen. Hey, that's not too bad. All right, we have one very fragile bezel. And I think now we should be able to lift the LED screen up. Oh, this feels dangerous. It's stuck down. There's a little bit of tape in the middle here. Just broken through. Okay. And so that's the expensive part. This is the screen, and underneath this piece should be the LED strips. Alright, what I might need to do, I'm going to pop that back down. I've just noticed I probably should have taken the screen up with this plastic frame. Whoops, I hope I haven't just damaged the LCD panel. So the frame for the actual screen is held on with little clips. We can undo all them. Oh, I wish I knew that. Yeah, okay, the screen needs to come up with this plastic bit. And release all the clips. Wouldn't be this flimsy if I hadn't have undone that double-sided tape in the middle there. Okay, so that can go up. Okay, I didn't unclip it all. Whoops. Make sure you undo all the clips. Okay, then the diffuser is under here. That's quite heavy. I'm going to try and keep all that together. And then we have our LEDs just here. Right, I'm going to try and get something to support this because I feel like I might be doing damage. Although, we'll see. Can you do this one-handed? Okay, now this is stuck down. Now I want to get something to support the screen. Don't want to damage the screen. Right, I'll be back. Okay, so I have the screen supported. I could probably go a bit higher angle, to be honest. Okay, so the GoPro's probably not picking up, but there's two plastic spikes in the middle here, which are supposed to come up. No idea how. They look like they have clips under them. Aha, they do. They have little clips, which are awfully hard to get to. Ah, okay. All right, I'll take a photo of them, but basically if you force it to the side and then lift the opposite side up, it doesn't work. So you do need to I just put a razor blade in there. That gets the tab to lift up. These feel like they would break super easy. Sucker does not want to come out. So that one actually broke. We'll still be able to reuse it, but it did break. All right. So that then should allow us to get this piece of, which looks like just card, to be honest. It is double-sided tape down. Try and get it up. There it is. And I'm gonna leave that in place, but we now have access to the actual LED strips. Right. Okay, so I've now propped the white card just up with that piece as well. And the LED strips are held in with Phillips head screws. Those ones are going to be a bit tight to get to. So let's just work on getting all the screws out and getting the old strips pulled up. Oh, I just missed an entire take. Guys, all I was saying was, as I removed the strips, I found it easier to pull the strips off of the double-sided tape before disconnecting the connector. As soon as I had the strip up off the base, it was quite easy to undo these connectors, which are quite fragile, and I did pull the wires out of the second one down. I'm just opening the AliExpress strips now. They do come held together with super posh masking tape. We'll get all that removed, and we'll get the new strips laid in place. Yeah, I was also saying in that last take where the camera wasn't on, hasn't been too hard to do. I've never done this sort of level of electronics repair before, and everything's going pretty easy. So before I lay it in place, I'm just gonna lay it in place. Bugger it. Ooh, what might be an issue? These do have to line up with the white paper. That's important. I can sort of see where the old strips were. Ah, it's all right, we've got screw holes. Don't worry, I'm overthinking it. So we have screw holes and locators. We're good. Okay, so that is where it needs to be. Let's reconnect the electrical connector. And then it's just a matter of putting the screws in. Now I did read that some of the screw holes don't line up with the new strips. I'm not too worried about that. Guys, I'm going to get the others put on time lapse, and I'll let you know if we find anything difficult to do. Okay, so that is all the strips in place. I've tried to double check the wiring as well as I can. The screws only line up in this row, and that row. So the original lights had 2 extra rows of screws holding them in. I mean, they sit up a little bit. I might put, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna dab a little bit of super glue just to hold them down flat. Now the only reason for that is I'm just wondering that if they do sit up, it might reflect funny on the angle of the LED. So I'll just get a little bit of super glue and just glue them down at the very end. I'll be back in a second. So I'm sure, oh, that's annoying. We've dripped somewhere we shouldn't have. I'm sure there is some sort of tape that would do a much better job than the super glue. I've only got electrical tape, and I'm worried about electrical tape not staying in place or coming loose. I know this is a bit janky, but the super glue will outlast the monitor, no doubt. The trick with super glue is to not use too much, but use more than that. And I also know with this glue, if I did ever need to pull them, well, I'm not. If this doesn't work, I'm going to buy another monitor. That's what's happening. Cool. So they are now all glued tightly, perfectly level. Right, okay, so now it's time to put it all back together. Now, my cord holding the screen up is awfully sketched, but it's done the job. In fact, that's probably something I would suggest putting some thought into before you start this, is just make sure you've got a decent way of propping everything up before you start. Okay, so I want to let the paper come down first. Hey, that has lined up perfectly. Trying to support the screen. Now we've got to put the two little spikes back on. That clips in. This one did break a clip. I haven't got a photo with my phone, it's too late. It's in. I guess when the LED sits down on it, the screen sits down on it, it'll be fine. But they are all sitting nicely. Well, let's put the screen back down. Screen's not gone down nicely, right. It's going to take some finessing. Basically the diffuser is slid up a little bit. So we'll slide that down. Come on. Come on your locator. Got the diffuser to sit where it needs to sit. Just. Okay, diffuser is now located properly. Hopefully I haven't damaged the screen. Okay, so that's the diffuser, the screen, this sort of inner bezel all back down. Something that's freaking me out at the moment are these tab sections on the side. I just didn't notice them before, and they've all come unglued since I've lifted the screen up, so I don't know if they're supposed to go on the inside or where they're supposed to go. Sort of got me a little bit freaked out. I have no idea. I think they just tuck down in there and that's what the space is for. I think. Hopefully that's it. I could probably look back through the video. Anyway, I'm going to keep reassembling it, put the bezel back on, and then we'll flip it over and start putting the rest of it back together. Now, something I probably should have said when we were folding up the screen just before, we're actually stressing out these connectors down the bottom here. So, I mean, I've just had a quick visual look. Everything still looks fine. I read that you're only supposed to go to 45 degrees, and I tried not to go that far, so hopefully we're all good. We'll find out if this is all for a waste shortly. I'm going to stick the metal tape back down. Now that we have the bezel screws all reattached. Tape's gone down nicely. And first thing I'm going to put back in is this little electrical connector that lights up the Philips logo. Down the bottom, that feels ultra loose, that's because it holds in from the top. We have one more screw to go in here. Where did I put my screwdriver? There it is. That is the last of the bezel screws. And the next thing to go back on is, it must go, goes that way. Down there. Right, perfect. screwdriver. Now, I don't think I actually filmed it in normal. I did it on the time-lapse, but I did remove the speakers. They are just held on with 2 electrical spade terminals. Yeah, so I removed them just to give us a bit better access, and so they weren't flopping around when we flipped it over. But the speakers will get connected next. The best mount needs to be a little bit tighter than the rest of the stuff because it is going to hold the monitor up. All the screws around the outside, they're just done up. They're not done up tightly. So speaker number 1, which mounts over here, and that is its power cord. They have a unprotected terminal and a blue terminal, and the blue terminal is marked on the speaker, so you can't get the wires around the wrong way. Spade terminals are also different sizes. All pretty simples. I have to say they're quite nice quality terminals as well. So that's got to go back in the lid. Guys, I think we're ready to put the lid back on. Well, the back cover, I should say. I think. Alright, let's get the back cover on. Which is actually over here. Okay, so we'll have to screw in the power switch. I dropped one of the screws that hold the power switch on the floor. Finally found it. Right, so it's now time to put the back cover on. Put it roughly in place, and then we'll get the switch up where it needs to be, and we'll get the screws mounted. Okay, we got 1 screw in. Got to get 2 in though, because it is the power switch, and depending on who's using the monitor, they may be quite rough on it. Fail. God, this is the hardest part of the job. Put the freaking power switch back on. Probably help if I got a smaller screwdriver. Okay, joystick and power switch reconnected. Hopefully everything else should be in place. Okay, looks like everything still lines up. Woohoo! Alright, let's get all these other screws put back in. Okay. Well, we can plug it back in. This is going to be the moment of truth. Guys, we'll power it up. We'll see if it looks normal. No sparks, so that's good. Go to the blue screen. And we have full color lighting. Not color lighting, full backlighting. You know what I might do? I might just plug a device into it. 2 seconds. Okay, so I've just plugged that computer into it. I don't know if it'll actually output HDMI, but we'll find out shortly. Okay, it's finally come on. The GoPro is picking up a bit of a flicker, annoyingly. But the screen isn't flickering. What I can see is good. And we have full lighting. We have fixed it, guys. Well, that's really flickering now. Yeah, that was a bit of fun. A little bit nerve-wracking, but I've managed to save what was an expensive monitor. And the new versions of these are a little bit cheaper than what I paid, but you're still looking at sort of $600 or $700 to replace it, and we've done it for 20 or 30 bucks in about an hour of time. If you've got any questions about doing this job yourself, let me know. To be honest, the only thing I think you really need to be careful with is when you lift the top of the screen up to get access to the LEDs. Make sure you don't bend the panel or basically just stress anything more than it needs to be stretched. Before you start the job, think of or set up something so that you can support the screen when you do lift it up. You don't want anything weird happening to it whilst you've got that screen bent up. Anyway, thank you for watching a test and tune video. Hopefully this helps some other people out and saves them some money as well. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.